How to integrate AI into an enterprise-grade business in 2026. This is going to be a good one, and you don't need to be technical to follow along. So you have a business, and you heard about this thing called AI. Of course you did. You may have played around with Claude a bit or some automations with a low-code tool like N8N or Make.com, but you're stuck here wondering, how do you actually implement AI into an enterprise-level business? And, well, you're in the right place, because today I'm going to share with you my 8-step system to integrate AI in an enterprise-grade environment. This is the exact same framework my business implements for our client companies. And I'll be honest with you, each step could probably be a full video on its own, and well, that's actually the plan. In the near future, I'll be dedicating a separate and more detailed video to each step that I'm covering today, but already we'll be unpacking a lot with just this one. We'll be going through workflow mapping, automation opportunities, AI risk, security and data governance, human oversight, observability, team training, and eventually scaling everything into a full AI operating system. Hope you're ready, let's get into it. Hey everyone, I'm Duncan, founder of RIV AI, and I'm not one to waste time, so we're getting right into it. Step 1 is to map the business. We're not gonna put on our AI caps just yet, because the vast majority of your AI ROI comes from enhancing what your business is already doing successfully, not from introducing brand new processes. And with that being said, you want to start by gaining a bird's eye view of your business operations. The driving questions that I like to ask are, what departments does your company have? So think sales, admin, finance, HR, pretty standard for the most part. Then I would ask, what does everyone do in those departments? So are they quoting customers, booking jobs, answering support tickets, processing invoices? What softwares do we use and where do they come into play? I'm sure you have a CRM, you might have an ERP system. I'm sure there's a couple spreadsheets floating around here. Email, for example, who doesn't use email? So the next question I would ask is, what data is coming into a given system? Is it new leads? Is it customer requests? Is it support tickets? Is it invoices maybe? And then at the end of that process, what data is coming out from the system? I would then start to consider, where do employees search for information? Is it on drives, old emails, Slack, Teams, CRM notes? These are all pretty common answers. It all really depends on your business. Then where do the errors happen? I like to think manual data entry, copy and pasting between systems, missed follow-ups, outdated spreadsheets, duplicate records, wrong customer details, that type of thing. And my last one for you today is a big one. What happens if a task goes wrong? Is it lost revenue? Do you just get some angry customers? Maybe you have some compliance issues? Does the job get delayed? Do you have bad reports? Or is it just wasted labor maybe? How severe are the consequences? And while you answer these questions, I highly recommend that you draw an actual data flow diagram to better visualize everything. But an important pro tip that I would include here is I would make sure you have some notation which tells you whether the data was passed from one step to another manually or automated. You may even want to consider physically writing something like, the customer service rep manually enters information into our quoting software. In this case, the more detail, the better. Step 2, build a ranked AI opportunity list. So now that we understand how the business functions and what our team members do and what happens if their job goes wrong, we can now start to look for AI and automation opportunities. And it's really important here that you start identifying and implementing pure automation opportunities rather than anything AI or agentic related. Because AI is non-deterministic by nature, which means you get inconsistent outputs from consistent inputs. So it introduces risks like hallucinations, inaccurate responses, unpredictable behavior, and just the need for stronger observability, testing, and human oversight, which is definitely not my preferred starting point. So my rule of thumb for you is, unless there are fluctuating inputs which require intricate customization or interpretation, we go with an automation. And even then, we still try to frame things as an automation to the greatest extent we can, simply because we always want to try to maximize our control over the system. There's no rule saying a process that requires AI has to be completely AI. Maybe we automate 90% and the AI just takes care of the final touches, who knows? But start by looking at your diagram from the previous step and honing in on everywhere you indicated or wrote the word manual. That's usually your easiest starting point. And once again, I have some guiding questions to help you do this. The 4 questions that I like to ask are: how much time does it save? How much money does it save or create? How easy is it to implement? And how risky is it if it makes a mistake? Ideally, we start with an automation which saves a lot of time and money, is low risk, and easy to implement. Notice I said ideally. I'm well aware how paradoxical this criteria can be. And this will definitely be up for interpretation. It's not always obvious. If you're unsure what automation to start with, don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Just rank them the best you can and move on. From my experience, I've most commonly started with either speed to lead or some form of repetitive admin work. Those are what I found to be the lowest hanging fruit. So now step 3 is fix the data and the permission problem. Now, this is the part most people skip, and a lot of these AI automation agencies tend to not even mention this, and they avoid the topic entirely. When it comes to real enterprise AI automation applications, there's this huge pain in the butt called data governance. I'm sure you've heard of SOC 2, ISO 27001, GDPR, those types of things. And as boring as this topic is, it's very important, and more so now than ever with these powerful new AI-powered data attacks. Again, full video will come out on this, but just to get you started, we have 3 layers to worry about here. I'll start with the most obvious: external bad actors. So think hackers, scammers, competitors, or just anyone who should not have access to your systems. You need to think about things like secure logins, multi-factor authentication, access controls, encrypted data, secure APIs, and making sure you're not accidentally exposing sensitive company information through poorly built automations. Next, we have internal misuse. Not every data threat comes from outside. Your internal team can also pose some serious problems. And I'm not even suggesting that there's some evil employee trying to destroy your company. Sometimes a worker just sees or has the ability to manipulate information that they shouldn't. An example might be that they copy customer data into a public AI tool. The decisions needed at this stage will be along the lines of what data is needed for each system and who has permissions to any given set of data. A sales AI should not have access to payroll, a customer service AI should not have access to private HR files, a reporting AI should only pull the fields it actually needs. I would just dedicate some significant time towards considering who should see what. And from there, you can go ahead and set up your permissions properly. And the last big threat, which not a lot of people think about, is actually AI itself. Well, not quite AI itself. It's more so vendor exposure. So once company data gets sent into a third-party AI tool, you need to know where the data goes. You need to think about who can access it, whether it gets stored, whether it can be used for training, whether the tool even meets your company's security and compliance requirements, and what happens if that vendor ever has a breach. Because there definitely is a risk of accidentally leaking sensitive data into systems you don't fully control. Now, to be clear, a lot of major AI enterprise providers have strong policies around this, and most businesses and enterprise AI products say they do not train on your company data by default, but you still do actually need to verify that. For many companies, using an enterprise AI platform like Amazon Bedrock, Azure OpenAI, or a properly configured API setup can be a reasonable path. Or in some cases, it could mean self-hosting an open source model. That's usually last resort, but you really never know. And honestly, this is a step where I would seriously consult with an AI expert or your IT team directly, because this is a step that is seriously not intuitive and it can be costly if done incorrectly. Step 4, build one high ROI pilot with observability and evals, and maybe even fallbacks. This is the point where most founders get ahead of themselves. They see the vision now. All that's left is to build it, right? Well, not quite, because reality often differs from what's on paper. The last thing you need is to overwhelm yourself and your team. Start small, do one painful, repetitive, measurable process. The best pilot automation should have these three things. It happens often, it wastes time, and success is easy to measure. For example, let's say customer service gets 100 repetitive emails per week. Right now, employees manually read each one, look up customer information, write a response, and send it. Maybe each email takes 5 minutes. That is over 8 hours a week on one repetitive task. The AI pilot could then be to read the email, classify the request, pull the relevant customer or policy information, draft a response, send it to the human for approval, and track time saved. Wait, human? Yes, you heard me correctly. In the beginning, we rarely want the AI to be fully autonomous. I want AI to do the heavy lifting, but the human still to make the final call. That gives you the speed without losing control. And this is where evaluations and observability comes into play. Measure everything. If you don't measure the AI system, you don't actually know if it works. So for every workflow, I would track the time saved, the cost saved, the response time, the error rate, human edits, and potentially customer satisfaction. Heck, maybe even revenue impact if directly applicable. If employees are editing 80% of the AI output, that tells you the system needs some work. But if they're only editing 10%, that means that the system is probably getting useful, but just may need a little bit of fine-tuning. Step 5, create the company AI policy. Before rolling out any AI or any new tool in general, I would just create a simple AI usage policy to go alongside it. You really shouldn't need a 40-page legal document that no one reads. Just keep it practical. It should answer questions like what employees are allowed to use which AI tool. What information are they not allowed to paste into the AI tools? When does AI output need to be reviewed by a human? What happens when AI gives a wrong answer? And who is responsible for monitoring the system? And although this information should have a copy in PDF format or something, you can also potentially build some sort of retrieval augmented generation pipeline with citations so that your employees can query through this documentation and get back the exact reference points in the text. Then everybody's on the same page and their questions can get answered right away. Step 6, train the team. Once the first pilot is working and you have a usage policy written out, I would already start to train your team. I would just say, here's how you use this workflow we built. Here's what it can do. Here's what it can't do. Here's when you need to review it. Here's how you report a bad output. And last but not least, here is how you suggest improvements. That part is huge because if employees don't trust the system, they're not going to use it. And if they overtrust the system, that can be really dangerous too. You need to find the middle ground. And you can really get ultimate leverage from AI training days because I always advise at this stage to not only discuss new automations that were introduced to the company, but also begin encouraging and or teaching your team how to use third-party tools like Claude Cowork on a day-to-day to enhance their personal work rates individually. Again, I'll do a future video on teaching AI tools to your team, but for now, we're gonna move on. Step 7, increase autonomy when trust is earned. I gave you an example earlier where AI drafts and human approves. If your evaluations suggest the system is performing the way you intended, you can start allowing it to take small actions automatically. For example, you might start wanting it to tag a lead, create a task, update a field in the CRM, send an internal alert. Then later for lower risk workflows, maybe it can send certain messages automatically. But my point is that the autonomy should be earned after you have evaluated everything. And finally, step 8 is to scale into an AI operating system. Once the first workflow is live, your team is trained, your policy is in place, and your evals are telling you the system is actually working, now you just repeat the process. Pick the next workflow, build another high ROI pilot, train the team, measure the results, increase autonomy only when trust is earned, and keep repeating. And over time, something really interesting starts to form. You no longer have just one random automation. You now have these automations spread across the entire business. Maybe sales has an AI speed to lead system. Maybe customer service has an AI email triage system. Admin might have document processing automations. Financing has reporting workflows. At this point, you have all the ingredients of what I call an AI operating system, which is essentially a connected layer of automations, AI assistants, data pipelines, and dashboards to help the company operate faster and smarter. But here's the key part. As these automations start spreading across the business, you need to make sure they're not all isolated from one another. Unless that's by design, of course. Because if sales, customer service, operations, and finance all have useful data, eventually you want to unite that information so leadership can actually see what's happening across the entire company. That's where things like centralized reporting, dashboards, and eventually even machine learning models come into play. Now you're not just automating tasks anymore, you're creating real visibility. You can now start answering questions like, where are leads getting stuck? Which customers are taking up the most support time? Which jobs are becoming less profitable? Which departments are creating the most delays? Which workflows are saving the most time? Which AI systems are performing well and which ones need to be improved? It just gives you a perspective of your company that you just couldn't see otherwise. I'll be upfront though, this part I would definitely have somebody technical implement because the project can start moving beyond simple automation and into more serious data engineering and data science, analytics, and the machine learning territory. A non-technical person can absolutely understand the strategy, but normally this is something difficult to vibe code or to accomplish with a low-code tool. Alrighty, well, there you have it. You have the map to AI success within your company. If you would like a hand in implementing the steps I covered today, either through done with you consulting or a done for you build of your own custom AI operating system, that's exactly what I do at RIV AI. You can book a meeting with me using my calendar link in the description. And if you got any value whatsoever from this video, please subscribe for me. It would be very much appreciated. And that's all I have to say. I'll catch you in the next one.